Hello everyone, and welcome to Farming Sim 25 tutorial. Today we are talking about rice, and in Farming Sim 25 there are two types of rice that you can grow. If we go into the shop here, we'll look at the packs just to make this a little easier to look at, and the long grain rice. This is going to be your more accessible variety to grow because you'll probably already have the equipment to do it, and it'll have this whitish yellow icon, and then the rice, as they call it, this brownish icon, is going to be a little more difficult since it'll require special equipment. So if we go into these packs, we will see that to plant it, you just need a normal seeder. It doesn't have to be this exact one under packs, but just make sure when you look at your seeders, you can see the long grain rice icon here, and you'll notice that you just fill it up with normal seeds like you do any of your other normal crops. And you'll also see that the harvester, again, it doesn't have to be this exact one, just any harvester that has the long grain rice icon will do. Again, this is why it's a lot more accessible, because you'll probably already have this equipment for all your other sort of standard crops. Whereas the rice, the shorter grain, I guess, is going to require a couple special pieces of equipment. You will need your planter here, and you'll see this brownish icon here. It will take rice saplings, which is this icon. You can also put solid fertilizer in this as well if you want to fertilize simultaneously. And then this here is the harvester. Again, you'll see the the short grain rice icon here. And then here is also the rice sapling pallet. This is what you will use to fill this implement. You can buy it here, or if you want to, you can basically grow it for free using a greenhouse. So if we go into our construction menu here, and you go into your production and go to greenhouses, this very first one, it's really cheap, $3,000, is going to be for rice saplings. And all you have to do is set it down on property you own and fill it up with water. If you fill it with water from one of the rivers, one of the natural bodies of water, the water is free, so you'll basically grow your saplings for free. Otherwise, if you use like a windmill or some sort of well, you'll have to pay for it a little bit, but it's still pretty cheap. And then you'll have tons of saplings. You'll just drive up to it, hit the refill planter button. So in the top left, you can see my control group, and you'll see that it starts to fill this implement. So that's the biggest difference between the two, is the just sort of accessibility, the ease at which you can grow them due to equipment constraints. The other difference is that long grain. So long grain is this one over here that's going to be with your normal seeder. This will have a lower yield, whereas this one with the special equipment will have a higher yield. And the only other difference, which we'll look at in just a little bit, this one is planted before you flood the field. This one is planted after you flood the field. So we'll take a look at that very quickly, but first let's figure out how to get a rice field. So again, go into your construction menu here. If you're on PC, you can also hold Shift and hit P, and it'll shortcut you right to it. Go to your production submenu here and go to cultivation. You'll see your orchards and this new icon, rice field. So we'll zoom in. Again, I do own this land. You do need to own it, and you will see a little circle, and it'll say start new field. So I'm going to click this. This is where I want my corner of the field to be. I'm also going to toggle snapping on. So I'm going to hit R so that it snaps into straight lines. Of course, you can turn that off if you need diagonals. And then I'm going to go here. And now here's the nice thing. If you go one more corner, the game will automatically make it rectangular. If you don't want that, you can keep putting corners as you want, or if you just want it rectangular, you can hit this right mouse button, or if you're on a non-keyboard, you can look at your controls and it'll finish the field. Real quick, before we do that, a quick tip. There is this change placement height functionality. I recommend lowering it by one click. So I'm going to hit N, and it sort of disappears, but it's still there, and then finish. And what that will do is it makes the field a little more flat with the rest of the field around it. If you don't do that, you'll get what I have here, where you'll have this like slightly raised edge. It might be impossible to see in the video, but it's just not quite flat with the rest of the field, and can get a little annoying. So little tip, maybe lower it by one if you want to do that. So there you have your rice field. It'll have this spigot, which is what I'll be calling it. There's probably a proper name for it. that I do not know. So let's go ahead and plant very quickly these crops. So again, with this one, it's normal. You just take your seeder, go ahead and switch over to long rice, and I am unfolded. I'm going to turn it on. It says I can only be planted inside rice fields, and now I drive across it. And if we look at the map, we should have this dark brown spot here, and that is long grain rice. It's that easy. And then, since it's long grain rice, you want to plant before you flood. So then you'll go over to the spigot. You can see interact with R, and it doesn't need me to do anything. So basically, once you have rice, just pay attention to what this tells you to do. If it says that you need to put water in it, put water in it. If it doesn't, don't. It'll just guide you. I was very panicky about that at first, and then realized that this thing just kind of tells you what to do. For short grain, you want to flood it first. You have to. It will not let you plant if you don't. The other thing to make sure you do is cultivate. My big mistake when I started trying this was I didn't cultivate it first, and then it doesn't let you flood it basically. So you can see this is cultivated. So I'm going to go here and flood it. Get our special machine, and then it's just like always. We may have to give it time to flood and unfold. So we're going to lower, turn on, and you can see it's planting. If I skip forward a little bit, like let's say if I just fast forward time for an hour, you'll see the field actually will flood with water. So it is doing it. It just takes a bit of in-game time. And if we check our map, you'll see there's a growth stage here. If we go to crop here, we have rice, and that is planted. Of course, you can do the whole field. I just do little bits for the sake of the video. If we go here, all good. And if we go here, I think it'll still be fine. And there we go. Again, just follow what this says to do. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to the next day, and we'll kind of keep managing our water. All right, so we are here in May. We did plant in April. If we do a quick look at the calendar here, we have both rices can be planted in April, or the shorter grain, this one here, can be planted in May as well. And you'll see it's dry. So if you need to weed or fertilize some more, whatever, you can always do it in the morning because the water will empty out every night. If we interact, it'll say the water level's too low. You can see here the water is, well, we haven't flooded this yet, but if we go here, it should say water level too low, and we flood. Again, if we skip time ahead, it takes about an hour, and these will fill up. And you basically just check on these every day, interact with this spigot, and if it says to flood it, flood it. If it doesn't, don't. It'll guide you. So I'm going to go ahead and do this every day until it is time to harvest. All right, we are back. It is September, and you can see our rice is now harvestable. Just to reiterate, you do need to turn the water on every day, or you need to check that spigot every day. Once it hits the third growth stage, you'll no longer need to flood it, but the thing also will not tell you to flood it. So again, just follow the advice of the faucet. So for long grain rice over here, again, you can just use a normal harvester. Pretty easy, just like always, nothing too fancy there. And then for our short grain, you do need this special one. So we'll turn it on. And you can see in the bottom right, it is filling up. And then from here, you just do what you always do and put this into a tipper, and then you can take it to sell. So you'll have to look at your map and look at your prices to see where they take it. So if we look at rice here, this one, you can see many places take it. Or if you are someone who enjoys the production chain, you can look at your available production, and you'll see that there are many rice things to do in the canning factory, rice bags, and different ways to store it. And there is also rice flour with both types of rice, and rice oil. So sell it or put it into your production chains. And that is really everything to do with our two types of rice here in Farming Simulator 25. If you have any questions, please ask below in the comments, like and subscribe if you wish, and of course have yourselves a very nice day.